Hey, everybody. Welcome to the last podcast with me. I'm Jeff. That's Chris.
And I'm Chris.
Chris.
Hey, somewhere around here. I'm here somewhere.
All right. You're here in spirit, body, and mind today, right? You're ready to roll. How you feeling today?
Hey, somewhere around here. I'm feeling absolutely
All right.
perfect
You're
today.
here in Yeah.
How about you?
Uh, I feel freaking fantastic today. I'm on
Listen,
cloud nine.
I know you are.
So,
You
yeah.
was feeling good. You was kind of antsy. You was kind of anxious last night. I saw it in your eyes. You were like a kid in a candy store. You couldn't wait for the
Couldn't
day.
wait to get to tonight. So, hey, Chris, you know what?
I think we all started right now.
I thought I changed that. It worked last night. Why did it not work last night? I mean, tonight.
That's a
I
different
got
show.
rid of that logo last night, yesterday afternoon.
It wasn't on last call. You had it on a pull-up show. You changed it on pull-up.
Oh, you know what?
You changed it on
Damn
last
it.
call podcast.
You're right. I forgot to put it in here today. Oh
That's okay.
well. Oh
Hey, it's
well.
there.
So
So what's going on
oh
today?
shoot. You know what? I
Oh,
forgot. Hold on. So everybody that's in the chat, everybody that's here, I know why you're here tonight. You're not here to see my beautiful face or this bald, beautiful man next to me, Chris. We know why you're here tonight. We've
mm-hmm.
hyped it up this week. So we
Yeah.
have none other than the Violator, Mr. Wayne Mabry. And here he is, ladies and gentlemen. Sir, welcome to the show. We are honored to have you here today. Extremely honored.
Yep.
How are you doing today?
Look, Jeff and Chris and everybody listening or watching, I'm doing fantastic. God is good. And we're here to talk some Raider football and Raider Nation. So let's get busy.
Let's do it.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Um, so, real quick, as we all know, chat life matters. We're going to hit up the chat real quick, see who's here, who's checking in with us tonight to be here on this special occasion for our show. Um, so, first, we started off, we've got PNW Mark is in the house. What's up, Mark? We got my guy LB Ray to 10, my Thursday night and Wednesday night co-host. Raider Paul is in the house. And my buddy Just Raiders baby Jay. Jay, actually, I think you're going to be with him in a couple of weeks on one of their shows coming up soon. So we're looking forward to that one too. Who else we got here? My wife's watching, but she's watching it from my puppy's Facebook page. That's my sweet Gracie girl right there. My 2 cents is in the house. What's up, brother?
What's up, 2 cents?
Detroit God is here. What's going on? Ain't no party without me from the top of Mount Everest to the deepest sea. Raiders, you got it, brother.
There it is.
The Navman, Raider Shield family's in the house. OG Daniels is here from Chronicles of the Black Hole. What's up, brother? Welcome.
OG.
All eyes on G's checking in with us this evening. Thank you. See, that's all who's hit us up in the chat so far. So, like I started off, I'm honored. we're honored to have you here.
Definitely.
It's something I've been wanting to do for a long time and just never really got a chance to reach out to you and ask you. So glad you're here. So what's what's new in the world of the Violator?
You remember what I told you about? It was going to happen in God's time. Here we are.
You did. You did. And the opportunity is here now. So Raider Ben's in the house. I just saw him pop in. What's up, Raider Ben? So, I mean, I'm sure pretty much a lot of the people that are going to be watching this tonight, they're very aware of who you are. And, but I just kind of want to get a little bit more of like the history of the Violator and you know, and who you are as a person too. And we're definitely going to talk Raiders because we got a lot to talk about. I've never really had a chance to interact with you on camera and actually talk about the team, especially last season and the way it's looking going forward. So I just want, if you're okay with this, I just want to start off basically getting some of your backstory on what made you become, like what was your journey that made you become a Raiders fan, basically?
Good question right there. Let's go back to the beginning. 1970, I think I'm 12, about between 12 and 14 at that time. I'm in the 8th grade, and I saw the Raiders playing the Chiefs. Well, I knew the Chiefs well because down south where I grew up, that's all we saw was Dallas, KC, Pittsburgh, Chicago, and the Rams. So I'm looking at these cats come out in silver and black. So that got my attention right away because I'm a guy into old medieval history, knights in armor, all that type of stuff. So gladiators. So caught my eye real quick, but I didn't notice what they were about until they got into a big brawl and the camera zoomed in on the shield. And that's when I really noticed the one-eyed pirate with 2 crossed swords. Brothers, it was love at first sight. So I didn't know where the hell they were from, but I want to get close to where they were. I knew they weren't in Mississippi. So I kind of told my mom, wherever that team is, that's where I'm going to live. And, you know, that young, she's like, you know, thought I lost my mind. But that just shows you when I talk to Raider fans in particular, what's your why? What made you pick that flower out of all the other 31? You picked that one. There's a reason for it. And to not get off subject, it's like when your heart is pricked, and when I say I was in love as a kid, I'm like, dude, those are my guys. And that's how I chose my teams out of all the other 31. Those are the ones that pricked my heart. So my journey from Mississippi to California took a few years, but I never lost that drive of knowing where I wanted to be. And that's what I try to instill in the youngsters. Follow your heart because there's a purpose behind it. And so upon getting to LA in 77, you know, I'm still a few miles away from Oakland, but, you know, they're on TV regularly. And before I got a chance to go to Mecca, they had moved to LA, about 8 blocks from where I live, so I could walk to the game. And, you talk about a kid in the candy store. It was like I'm going to therapy, and to this day, that's what I call it. I'm going to therapy. So
I definitely get that. I mean, it's similar situation with me. I live on the East Coast. I'm born and raised in Rhode Island, so you know, being so far away, you know, just like yourself, you didn't get to see them on TV a lot when you were a kid. You know, living in Mississippi, you know, the same situation at my end. So it's like it's that one thing that just makes you click, you know, and I think all 3 of us share that one thing in common, that we all became fans in that 70s era. You know, I know mine was 75, 76. I think Chris was about the same time frame. But Chris had a little bit of a benefit. You live out that.
My story is by all just as similar as yours on Wayne. So I live in LA. This is real quick. I live in LA. My whole family Rams fan. All of them. Every last one of them. I hate the Rams because they always lose. They always get their butts kicked. Like, yeah, so I root for another team that was in Super Bowl 76, 77 with the Raiders. And like you, we didn't see Raiders that much. We saw Dallas, Rams, Frisco, those teams, Pittsburgh. So my uncle, my grandfather had tickets to the go Super Bowl. It was $20 back then. That was crazy.
Wow.
But the other guy backed out, and I'm sitting there, and I like football. They said, "You want to go to the game with us?" I didn't know it was a Super Bowl. I just thought it was a regular game. So I'm sitting in the stands, and I saw like Monday night before, I saw this silver and black. I said, "I like that. Those are nice colors. They're not soft colors. They're battle colors."
That's it.
So we go to the game. I'm sitting in the end zone where Willie Brown caught that interception, and I could see him like almost like a zoom camera coming towards me. I looked at my grandfather and uncle and said, "Guess what, guys? Got my new team. You a Rams fan? No. Raiders. Ever since then, I'm a Raider fan."
Love it, brother. That's called your heart gets pricked. Whatever that moment is, that's all we have to share with other fans who may be new to the game.
Yeah.
But it grows over time. It's just simmering. And, the ups and downs of this team over the last 20 plus years never fades that belief that you had that first time. And us having seen them win is the advantage that we have over the millennials. I'll just put it that way.
Yeah.
I'm spotting myself, but that's the advantage that we have because we know they've done it. And, everybody gets knocked down, but it's how many times you're willing to stand up. And I think this is the season we're getting ready to stand up.
That's where Chris and I come into play with what we do on our shows is, we've been there. We've seen what it was like to see this team and its greatness and to, keep that positive vibe going. It's going to come in time. It better. It's been a long time, but, that's staying positive about this team, in the direction that it's ultimately going right now. Chris, this one's up. This one's yours next, so you can go ahead and ask him.
Okay. So, let me ask you this. I'm not going to call it a costume or anything like that. I'm going to call it your battle armor or your pseudo armor. Either one you like.
Uniform.
You want to call it uniform? I look at it as a battle armor because when you put it on, you're ready to go to battle. Seriously, that's what I thought. So how long does it really take you to get into the armor, and what created that persona for you? Like, did you think of it on the fly, or it came to you, or you just, how did you create that persona?
Love that question, Chris. Here we go. Back to my childhood. I've always been in the superheroes, and, because I wasn't a big person in stature, I imagined in my mind that I could still do those big things, like your Mighty Mouses and, all those kind of characters that were smallish, but they had some power that you couldn't really put your finger on. So that craziness that you see when I gear up is my inner personality every day. And as a kid, I didn't talk at all, very little. I hated talking. And so my favorite superhero was Ben Grimm from the Fantastic Four. His whole persona. I don't need to talk, but I'm going to show you through my actions. And as I got out here in LA and I'm attending games in person, something to me was missing. I'm like, there's something else I should be doing. And over a few years, and I'm a big WWE guy too. So seeing the Demolition guys way back in the day, and I'm like,
Demolition, yep.
That's as close to being gladiators as I've seen off a football field. So that whole thing, and then Beetlejuice and Spawn came out too. So even Spawn came out after I was dressing, but the same concept that is a jagged edge to it, but you've got to see the person behind all of that. But that's just, I tell people that's an expression of your fandom. Now, I'm an artist, so when I paint up, that's like me going to war in my mind. So there's a flip of the whole mindset during that whole hour process of putting the war paint on. But to me, it's just, and I started in LA. So, Chris, you can attest to how sometimes that LA crowd was too laid back in Hollywood for me.
I remember I saw you in a few games. And I was like, because I was impressed that wow, this guy came to the game looking like that. He looked so awesome. Well, I want to get to you, but you know how it was. It's just
Yeah.
It was crazy.
They thought when I first came in there, Chris, the security thought something was wrong with us. It was 4 of us at the time. They thought we were on some serious acid or something, But it was just a mindset that where we stood behind the bench, about 4 or 5 rows up, all these celebrities were just kind of kicking back like they were at a Dodger game. And it kind of pissed us off because they were always harassing us. Why didn't we sit down? And I'm thinking, okay, this next season, we're going to show them why. And so that first little group was called the Enforcers. So we would get there early in the morning before the gates open, get in there, and that's getting that whole tailgate thing going. Yeah. Walking all the way around the Coliseum, nonstop, having your festivities with folks. That's how we got to know people, and people got to know us. Because when we went inside, it's like clocking in to go to work. That's how intense we were with it. We're going to work. And we had a saying, bring your A game every time you hit that turnstile. So we know what that meant. Be a boisterous fan group when it's time. We don't need signs to tell us, be quiet, get loud. We don't really need that. And so that whole spirit, man, and just reveling in that whole Raider mystique. Because to us, they were warriors, man.
Yeah, I remember it was a costume day. Sometimes I felt like just a gathering for who's who, who's what type thing. Yeah. But then there's always, I don't know what's your group, but there's always one group of stands that were rowdy as hell. Like, I want to go over there. So that's where I want to go. But how long it take you to get ready for a game? To get your, I'm going to call it a suit of armor. You call it costume. Your suit of armor on.
That's a 2-hour process, brother. And it's something that I cherish. I don't rush it for anybody. It's just a process. So once I start, it's just going from point A to the end. When I've sprayed the sealer on to seal everything, I'm ready to roll. But it's almost like meditation, even though I'm focused because I've got to paint it. But it's almost like you meditate.
I got a follow-up question on your gear. I noticed that you see other people that put their gear on, and sometimes they change their look some ways or whatever. There's one thing that's never wavered on you, and I'm curious for the backstory on this. I don't know if Chris knows where I'm going with this because we haven't talked about it. Number 57. You've worn number 57 from the start right up to the very day right now as we speak. What is the significance to the number 57 jersey?
That 57 jersey is, first of all, it's a linebacker's position number. I'm an old linebacker. So when I first started, I had Matt Millen because he was like my guy because of the intensity that he played with. And they traded, you remember when they traded Matt? I think it was to Seattle maybe. And or Washington or somewhere where he went and won
I think it was
Washington. I think it was, yeah.
I was so pissed off about that. You talking about your feelings getting hurt. I was crushed as a fan. So today, I never get hung up on players specifically. I know them. You have these relationships with them, but people always ask me, who is your favorite Raider? And I always answer all of them. And then, that's filtered in the good ones and the not so good ones, but all of them that wore the silver and black. But that 57 is personal to me because of my relationship with Jerry Robinson. Now, he was a cast-off from Philadelphia, but I knew him from his UCLA versus SC days and hated his ass back then. But when he finally came to us, I'm thinking they're throwing this guy away. He's got a little attitude with him. So he wasn't the biggest linebacker, but I love guys that brought that pain regardless of stature.
Wow.
So that's a tribute to him. until they cross my arms. That's Jerry Robinson. Salute, my brother.
Now, have you ever met him in your, as the Violator?
Yeah. Oh yeah, so many times. We just did the Raiders fan cruise, and he was on there. So
he was there for that. Oh, sweet,
yeah.
sweet.
Oh,
I know. I was following you when you were on that cruise. It looked like a blast. I wish I could have gone.
Man, that's like kids are in the Disney World and Universal City, Magic Mountain, all that stuff.
right.
That's the way that cruise was. We call it a tailgate on the sea. About 400 Raider fans, we pretty much took over the ship.
So now you basically were like pretty much one of the first ones within the Raider Nation and fan base, basically, to do what you do, like putting on, like becoming the Violator, basically becoming this persona of you on game day, and kind of, because obviously, I mean, you're one of the nicest guys I've ever met, to be honest with you, and everybody always says that too. And I've seen you on other shows, like I've seen you on with Captain Jack and Ref Guru. I see you on there all the time, during the season when you guys do your show. I watched it religiously during this last season, so it's like you were like one of the first ones that really got into doing what you do and what it's expanded into, to the point where you were nominated by Howie Long for the NFL Hall of Fans. What was that like for you? Like how did you feel being presented or being put up by Howie? And Chris, I know I just took your question.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I got another question to ask. It's not a question, but go ahead.
Great lead in, though, Jeff. First of all, I didn't know that he had nominated me, first of all. And, I'd entered it several years before, and I went in 2000 for Visa, but they took all of that stuff out of the hall for some reason. And didn't know he had put my name in the hat, so to speak. So the people from Ford reached out to me and was asking me why didn't I fill out my entry, and I'm like, because I'm not interested. And they said, listen, we need you to fill out the form, so to speak, so that it's official. So I'm like, so I reluctantly filled it out, and so the contest voting started, and they said, oh, contact your followers, blah, 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 to, cast votes for you on a daily basis. So I did all that. And that was fun, just to see the interest, still not knowing that this guy had put my name in there. So Fox had come out to my house and, done a sit-down interview, kind of like we're doing. And in the midst of that, he shows up at my front door in the middle of that interview, which was all planned. And so when I saw the gold jacket, when I opened the door, my knees just buckled because I'm like, oh, this is some real shit happening here.
Yeah.
And a whole camera crew is with him. So I'm like, oh my, it felt like one of the Publishers Clearinghouse commercials. And that's when he told me, I put your name in there personally because I felt you needed to be in there to represent the Raider Nation. So just to hear him say that, man, just blew me away. And, he had told me at a post-game dinner that the Raiders invited me to kind of take all my stuff off to see who I was, because I was starting such a ruckus in the Pirates Pavilion, which was the end zone made out of metal. So to me, that was another weapon to use. So, that's just my mindset. That's another weapon that we can use, and they can't flag us. So at this dinner, he walked over to me. Several of the players did, but he walked over to the table where I am while I was sitting and shook my hand. And I'm like, look at the size of this dude. Seeing him on the field was one thing, but in person,
Wow.
It was like mind-blowing. I'm like, not an ounce of fat on this guy. But he told me, he says, we can hear you behind us and keep doing what you're doing because we're watching the media follow you around, because I would move all over the place. He says, one day they're going to eat that up. So all of that in my head, it was just like, and that's why I found purpose in what I do. I consider myself an ambassador for the Raider Nation, not a super fan.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'm an ambassador. So I greet the enemy and us with the same zeal, so to speak. Because we're there to fellowship. The war actually is on the field, and that's a respect in that. But having him do that for me, man, just kind of solidified what can happen when you have relationships with the right people and you carry yourself in a certain way. So that's my message to the youngsters every time I'm talking to them.
I got a question for you.
Go ahead, Chris.
I'm probably asking a little early, but I got to get off my chest. Have you ever lit the Al Davis torch?
Yes, this past season in Vegas.
And how did you feel when you lit it?
Just hold up. Let's go back to the beginning, how it came about.
Okay, go ahead.
There was a whole campaign to bring, because Raider Nation was feeling like we had been pushed aside with the move to Vegas. So there was some we were feeling a certain kind of way. But credit to Mark Davis, he knew that he's got to bring us back to get anything close to where we were in Oakland and in LA. Even with all the other stuff that's involved with that. So he had us come down on the sideline pregame. We didn't know why we were there, but they told, hey, come down on the field. So Gorilla, myself, and a few other colleagues were down there on the sideline. So, and there was a big camera crew sitting there loafing. So I'm thinking, wait a minute, they don't usually loaf like that, especially standing in front where we were. I'm like, they're there for a reason. So when Mark Davis comes out to come on the field, they all went to attention and got in place. So he walks up to us, and I always shake people's hand and pull them into me. I could feel him kind of trembling. So I'm like, oh, what he said to us was, in honor of my dad, I would love for you guys to light the torch. And it was just like, wow, it was like one of those 360 moments to have the owner ask us to do that. We're not players, we're just fans. But to him, we were representing Raider Nation. So to me, that was a great gesture, man. As far as what do they call it? Passing the olive branch, so to speak, to kind of mend bridges, So that was an honor to me, man. And just like I say, all those are part of what I call Raider history, those epic moments that happened,
So that actually, it's a perfect segue into this next question. Then good call on that one, Chris.
Yeah.
What were you going to say?
No, I said I wanted to know because I remember seeing on TV that Black Hole was lighting the torch, and
yes.
I just want to ask. And now the question was, I asked you, like, what did you feel inside? Did you feel honored? Did you feel like, I don't know, I can't put on my mouth, but how would you feel?
Simply put, Chris, it was an honor. It was humbling as hell, but it was an honor, just like for them to think that much of us to do that, because mostly it's usually players and, alumni and so forth. So to ask fans to actually do that was like almost shaking our hands in a real way, or giving us that bro hug, That's the way it felt. That's the way it felt to do that.
So just real quick, just want to hit up the chat real quick just to say, checking in with everybody. I know normally when Chris and I are on, we really work with the chat and posting what the chat says. I've seen some questions that we're going to ask Wayne a little bit later on. I've highlighted them. I put them aside, so I will bring those up at some point. I have some other ones written down of followers that sent me questions to ask of Wayne while he's on with us. So we will get to that. I guarantee that. Don't worry about that. But I just want to check in with everybody. Say, I do see, Chris and I do see you guys checking in and saying salute to us. We do appreciate it. We do see you saying salute to Violator, Wayne. When you see him do this, he's recognizing you, because I've seen him do that on many other shows. He'll be talking along about whatever question's being asked, and he'll pop that salute out. So he's seeing it. Trust me, he's seeing it. So we're not ignoring you. It's just that it want to try and stay on focus. We've got Wayne for limited time, obviously. We can't do a 4-hour show like Chris and I normally do. So, but kind of a follow-up or a lead into my next question from based on what Chris just asked, because I think this is a perfect time to ask this one, is how do you think the culture of Raider Nation has evolved from the LA days to Oakland to where it is now in Vegas? How much of a change have you now? You've lived and been around the team in California during during that time frame, and now with us being in Vegas. I never got a chance to experience being out there during that time, so I can't answer this question. So as a fan with such a distance between me and the team, I want to hear your take on it, being so close to the organization. What's your feeling on the culture change that swung through this team over the last 3 cities that we've been in?
Great question, Jeff. As far as culture, this is what I've seen through my eyes. We're almost like a chameleon because we can adjust to wherever the team goes. That culture kind of goes with that team. There's a core group that keeps that culture alive. And I've made an oath to myself that until I breathe my last breath, it's keeping it real, keeping it fan friendly, family friendly, because we've got to teach the youngsters how to conduct themselves as educated Raider fans, knowledgeable Raider fans, and respectable Raider fans, because we get all the other negativity from the outside. So we've got to teach from within. But every city that we've been in so far, Vegas is the one that I would say it's still in a work in progress.
Understandable, yeah, I get that.
Yeah. Mm.
New frontier.
Yeah. I mean, from a business standpoint, and that's how people have to look at this too. The owning an NFL team is a business. From a business standpoint, and I've stood by this for since I've been doing YouTube, and it's been since before the start of this current season, in 2024. That was probably the smartest move that Mark Davis could have done.
Yes.
As far as from a business standpoint, moving the team like he did, because I think it's opened this team up to a whole new fan base, to be honest with you, because I've seen more fans show up now or be, wearing the Raider gear, and it's more now visible because of where they are. I mean, it's the number one tourist destination in the world.
Right.
Vegas, everybody wants to go to Vegas because everybody wants to be that, that one that hits big and goes home. So everybody and their brother comes here, and it just so happens that, that's, I think, and I'm sure you've seen this now, how much of an impact do you think in a negative light is the Raiders being in Vegas, where we don't have that home field advantage like we had in Oakland? We never really had one in LA, to be honest with you, as far as, because when you were in that stadium, and I've been to the Coliseum, but not to a Raiders game, you're so far away from the field, it doesn't even feel like it. There's such a distance between you and where everybody, where the team is and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But Oakland was a true home field advantage. What do you see as, with that issue, being at games in Vegas, and what's your take on that aspect?
I'll hit all three since you brought that up. At the Coliseum, like I said, it holds 101,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just from my opinion, basically. In LA, there was so much other stuff to do.
Mm-hmm.
So LA was basically a college football town, not a pro football town. So Oakland, just a flip of the coin, was a pro football town. And the Coliseum there only held 63,000 fans. Plus the mystique of, it's too edgy up in there. That was our home field advantage right there, because the same fans that I'm meeting in Vegas were afraid to go to Oakland, though they never went. They said they never would have gone there. And so I already
you mean the opposing team?
Yes, the opposing team
Yeah,
fans.
okay.
Yeah, opposing.
Never would have set foot in Oakland. So that was like a badge of honor to hear them say that, because we knew the mystique was working. Even when the team wasn't doing so well, the fans were, like I said, was bringing their A game every week.
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't see that many colorful jerseys in there. You saw a few, but mostly on the visitor side, but none in the black hole. None. Didn't happen. If they were like somebody's special guest. And I enjoyed doing that. Inviting somebody who I knew would appreciate those moments, you invite them in so that they can take some of our history back to their wherever hometown they're from.
Mm-hmm.
But like I say, again, Vegas, being the business move that it is, now we're like a $5 billion corporation. And like you said, it's a destination spot. So over the last 4 years, I've been talking to the fans that come to visit for the other teams because it's interesting conversation. And that they plan their vacations around what game their team is playing us. So it's a whole week of life and leisure in Vegas. So they're really making family memories, which I can respect that. But when they tell you we would have never brought the 5 of us or the 6 of us to Oakland, it wouldn't have happened, you know. So I kind of took that like, okay, how can we develop that same edge in Vegas? And that's why I say it's a work in progress. And it may take the team getting back to the playoffs, being dominant like we remember them being, for fans will not sell their tickets and sit in their own seats.
Exactly, yeah.
Just like my boy LV Raider 10 just said, a couple of winning seasons will turn that around.
Yes.
He's absolutely right.
Exactly.
I agree 100% with him.
Yep.
He's a smart kid. I like him.
and the entertainment factor that's there, you know, I've been told by several dignitaries that you're in Vegas. So all, you know, because I was asking them, why is all this extra stuff? But that's Vegas. So you're going to get the entertainment factor that we didn't get in LA nor Oakland. It was about the play on the field. The most entertainment we had was the Raiderettes. That was it.
Right, hold on. Jay, you can't see Chris's face. Are you
Yeah,
serious?
that's all I'm looking at.
Huh?
That's all. Why you can't see my face? It's on there.
I don't know.
I'm
I see
clear
you
right
just
here.
fine.
Probably they glare in the back, the sun, you know, going down. So.
Oh, you know what? Yeah. On the
glare.
right side. Yeah. You're curtain. So next question I have here, Chris, you want to take this one, number 10 on that list?
Sure. Let's see where we at. Oh.
Okay, I stole one of your questions. So.
No, that's fine. You can go ahead with that one. I didn't read that one. Go ahead.
All right. Are you doing it or no?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Have any Raider players ever told you what seeing you in the crowd means to them? Like, does that give them like extra drives to do well because they see you, they know how much of an icon you are and an ambassador to the team? Like, have you ever heard that from any of the players? Like when they see you, they're like, oh, like almost like when you see the coach show up, it's like, oh, I got to perform well because they see you because you're that intimidating factor as a fan, you know?
Another great question, brother. I've heard more compliments from the opposing players about they know it's real when they come out of that tunnel and I'm yelling at them. They know it's shit's real, and it just takes, you know, a lot of them saying lock them in because they're like, oh shit, it's time to go because this guy's the first thing they see when they come out, and I'm right in their grill, man. Just passing that I love you along for game day. But you know,
I love you, but no, I don't.
Yeah. But they know it's real, and they just say when you come out of the tunnel and the whole arena, it looks like something from the insane asylum. They know it's real, so they're on edge the whole game. And when you hear a pro player say that, it's funny, but it's almost like that's a compliment. And a few coaches have said that, man, we hate coming in here. You know, when they let you guys out for the weekend, and I always say, oh yeah, we out on furlough.
and if you think about it, right?
Oh my God.
They come out of this, you know, their locker room, and the first thing they're seeing you yelling at them. Then they got some guy in a gorilla costume standing next to you, in Gorilla. Then they've got a guy with pins coming out of his head, and then they've got a guy in a pirate costume. Then they got this one dressed up as Darth Vader, and then this one and that. You know, I mean, it's when you look at it, you kind of like this is like some sort of weird dysfunctional family, but yet yelling the same thing at me from the
Yeah.
other team, you know? So, yeah, that's an intimidation factor. But as you well know, imitation is a form of
Yes.
flattery. I mean, when I first saw any images of you on TV during Raider games, dressed, you know, in your battle gear as Violator, you never really saw anybody. The most iconic figure that you would ever see in the stands was, remember the old John 316 guy with the rainbow hair
Yes.
with the,
Yes.
with the
Yeah,
he
yeah.
was like the first one. A lot of people in the chat, they're so young, they're not even going to know who the three of us are
Right.
talking about.
The
Right.
original one.
But he was like the first one that really stuck out when you watched pro sports because he went to any game. It didn't matter what
Didn't
sport it
matter.
was. He was always in the
Yeah, he was
stands.
at every game,
Yeah.
so every sporting
And
event.
then, you know, and then you come along doing what you do. And now it sprung a whole different, I guess, I would say generation, a whole different generation of people dressing the way they do for their team. Like you've seen imitations of exactly what you wear. You've seen imitations. The Broncos have one specifically where the guy's dressed like Darth Vader, but it's all in orange. You know, it's not as scary as a guy in all black. You know, so you see these other fan bases imitating what we do. How does that like register with you? Like, I mean, do you take that as flattery? Like, wow, you know, I started this in a way. This I am part of this on the ground level. You know, what's your take on when you see other fans doing what you did first?
I'm gonna go back to the LA Coliseum days. There was an old gentleman that saw me in the parking lot like that first year, and he saw how the kids would sneak away from their parents and gravitate to where we were. So he kind of put me to the side and he says, "You know what? One day those kids are going to be doing what you're doing." And he told me about the imitation is the best form of flattery. And I always kept that in the back of my mind where most people say, "Oh man, he's biting off my idea." But to me, that's planting the seed. So yes, I do kind of like smile when I'm like, wow, look at that. It's because my attitude back in the LA days was I'm going to infect every person that I come in contact with this kind of craziness. That means it's in every one of us, but most people are afraid to let that out. So if
Yeah.
I had to be like the spearhead, so to speak, so be it, because that put me more locked into the game than ever before.
Okay, I got to follow up to that. So
Go for it.
speaking of which, LA Coliseum didn't really have a black hole because like Jeff said, we the distance because we had the track from USC and all that stuff. Where and when did the black hole actually start, and how long have you been a black hole representative?
The black hole didn't really start until we moved back to Oakland in '95.
Right.
But in LA, we had a section in the end zone called the Pirates Pavilion. So that's where the whole marsh pit stomping around kind of got going because I didn't want to sit down. So we got metal bleachers. So I would get all the kids get up and help me go up and down these bleachers when the team's offense is on the field. So that was like, to me, the beginning of that. But the actual black hole didn't form until '95 when they moved back. And I've been a member 28 of those 30 years, man. This year marks 30 years of the black hole. So I've been a member of that 28 years.
Okay, so that was a section I was talking about earlier. Like I heard a lot of ruckus. I was on the other, like halfway in the stadium, whatever, and I can hear all this ruckus. And I was saying, I'm gonna be over there. That's where you guys were. It must be by
That's
over by
it.
the end zone. That was all that ruckus and noise, and you can see
Yes.
all the security guards like, what the heck?
Yeah, they
What's
were lined up in the front because they didn't know what we were going to do, man.
exactly.
There
Police,
was
LAPD was out there like, what's going on
Yes,
over there?
I got to know quite a few of them because they would always check my pulse and see if this guy's okay. Do I need to put him in a straitjacket by halftime? No, I'm there to work. And there was a concession stand all the way underneath that, and I've got some lifelong friends that worked under there. And when I would go down there to get a refreshment, they would be cussing me out because they said, "You got them fools up there stomping. We can't hear to take orders." And I'm like, okay, so we're doing our job. So
Wow.
So yeah, I'm a proud official member now, so
I
I'm
saw that.
I'm
Yes,
happy.
sir. Yes,
And
sir.
I'll,
You know,
and I'll be
I've
one.
I've got my chapter here in New England now, so I'm
I'll be
excited.
visiting you soon.
And I'll
Are
be
you?
one.
I was going to ask you, are you coming out for the New England game?
I don't know if I'll make it for that one, but it's part of the mission to get over there and fellowship with you guys.
And I'll be
Awesome.
one coming
Have you
Monday.
been to Gillette?
No, I've never
Have you-
been. No.
No. Ah.
Yeah. So yeah, so
Because
I'll
I
be
was actually.
go ahead.
Go ahead, Chris.
No, I'll say I'll become the Black Hole member starting Monday. So
Yes.
I'm
Chris
Awesome,
is
brother. Hey,
officially.
welcome. Welcome.
oh yeah,
It's something I should have done a long time ago.
that's what I say. To
Because
You can
I know. Go ahead. Sorry, Wayne.
No, I was gonna say, because there's the black when people hear black hole, it ended when they left Oakland. And I want to say this because we're on that subject right now.
Yeah,
When you
go for
say
it, man.
black hole, that's the title, but it's a feeling that we all carry with us. So as long as we give this out through our, like we're talking about it, long as you keep that in the universe, the black hole will never die. What we're trying to do is get generations deep behind us that know the history of the team. So I just wanted to throw that in there for Raider fans to know the history of this team and why Al did what he did and what that should mean to all of us.
Yep. Yep.
And that's the show we
Definitely.
do on Saturday nights. This show that you're on right now, the Last Call Podcast. That's what me and Jeff. He called me up and said, "We should do a show on the Raiders history." I said, "That's a great idea," because on one night we had a young kid in there, didn't know anything about it. Like he's a Raider fan, but he didn't know. So Jeff said, "Let's start the show." And that's what we do. Saturday nights is dedicated to talking about the players, the history, the good and the bad and the ugly. Talk about
Yes.
the whole thing,
Yeah.
so they
And it
know.
comes with it. It comes with it.
We're in the Matrix. We all good?
Everybody froze.
Everybody was stuttering stepping there for a second. Yeah, because what we've done on Saturday nights for the last few months since we started the show, like Chris said, we went through Raider history. So our very first show, we had Peggy Holmes on with us, and what we did was we covered. We spent 2 hours talking about. We started at the very top. We started with Al Davis. He was the first one. So we went through the history of Al Davis. She had some personal stories of her interactions with him, which leads into another question for you. What type and how many times have you actually, or did you even get the chance to interact with Al Davis himself? I'm sure you've got something in there where you met him. I can only imagine.
Yeah, I'll go to the first time that we met, and it was at the LA Coliseum, and one of the ushers that worked that gate that they went up to their box. When I'm down there pregame, he says, "Hey, slide over this way and just stay over here, and I'll tell you why in a few minutes." So I'm over there talking with the people near the gate, not thinking about what was out there, watching the players warm up. But he says, "Now, here he comes." And he didn't say who. He says, "Here he comes." So when I look on the field, I see Jim Otto. So Jim Otto's coming, and when he got up close enough to shake my hand, he stops. And he shook my hand, and he's like, "Damn it, if I could wear that," I hope it's not no kids watching, but if I could wear that stuff when I played, I would have messed up a lot of players. So to me, that was like the biggest compliment. And in that process, Al peeped around behind him like, "Who the hell are you talking to?" He didn't know. He knew he wasn't talking to the usher. "Who the hell are you?" And that's when we looked eye to eye, and he's just like, "What?" And he just give me that what, and what is this? But he told Jim, "Hey, we got to get upstairs." He told, just come on, we got to get upstairs. So me and Jim were tight from that day. That was just like a bond from that moment. But every time I would meet Mr. Davis, it was just say, "How you doing?" Nothing like bum rushing, because to me, he was like the Don. So I respected his space, and you hear fans now talking about Mark Day. Well, you can feel about him however you like for whatever reason, but he does own the team. And of late, I've seen him, I guess through trial and error, try to come back to the old ways of the Raiders, because that move to me, we were losing our identity. when we moved to Vegas. That was just my personal feeling. And they treated me like I was straight out of the asylum when I walked into Allegiant for the first time. You know, I thought I was going to be on the floor with my hands behind my back, but they weren't used to that. And then us standing like it's traditional for old Raiders fans, we stood up. That keeps your energy going. And they weren't used to that. So, you know, I'm in the Win Field Club now because they welcome me in there because I could stand and nobody would be telling me to sit down. So that was a God's gift right there for me, man. It's like that's my office right there. So there's a lot of stuff in the works, man, but I would just like to say to the listeners, spread the word to stay positive, be Raiders. That's what we are. We're not bickering at each other. That's not being a Raider.
Nope.
Raiders uplift each other because we're in this war with everybody else.
Exactly. Well put.
Agree 100%. Couldn't have said it any better than what you just did.
Yep.
So we're about 50 minutes in here. So what I want to do is I want to give you the chance, Wayne, to talk about what you got going on with anything. I know you've got a book. I've got the banner set up for your link. So right now, scrolling at the bottom, everybody just try and visit moto-sports.com. That is Wayne's website. But anything you want to promote or you want to talk about, you know, and then I'll keep the link posted throughout the rest of the chat. So the floor is yours, sir.
Appreciate that, Jeff. Just all of my fan apparel and all that sports memorabilia you can find at moto-sports.com. That's my one-stop shop. These babies right here, my V57s, my cigar line. Just hit me up at Violator 57 there or any other social media that you see me on. Send me a message and I'll give you all the info how to get these babies.
I got a better picture of those. Hold on. Boom.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, sir.
I smoke cigars, so I will definitely hit that up.
Yes, sir. I got a free shipping. So,
so if you hit him up here down below is his Instagram too.
Yes.
So if you
want to send me a private message.
Yep.
Definitely
it's very easy to get a hold of on Instagram. I will tell you that. Almost every day I get some sort of inspirational message from him, whether it's good morning fam, what's up, brother? For the last, I don't know, few months or so.
Reaching out, baby. Reaching out.
It's either been on Facebook, it's been on Instagram. So he's very easy to contact if you have any questions or, you know, you want to order the cigars, you know, definitely so easy to reach out to. He's pretty quick to get back to you too. I will say that. You know, some people get such a following and they tend to not interact as much. Can't say that about this gentleman at all.
That ain't what it's about, man.
He's been awesome to deal with.
Old school, man. You hit me, I'm gonna hit you back. It may not be immediately, and that's the only thing I say, but I will eventually answer every, message that comes by. Also, anybody that wants a signed game day program, I have some of those left. So again, hit me up and I'll send you the info to get those.
Ooh.
Now, you were a working class man. I mean, you were working in construction for a long freaking time. So, this isn't a guy that just sat on his ass doing nothing all the time. And he worked his butt off. I mean, he earned everything that he got through the years. And like Jay just said, he's an inspiration. And not only is he an inspiration to like Raider fans, but if you think about it, he's an inspiration to multiple generations since he started this. I mean, he's been as the Violator for over 30 years. 34 years. That's a long haul. Almost as pretty much about the same time frame you worked in your career field. You've been this same persona for 30 plus years. So it's like, that's incredible that you've been able to do this. Thank God you don't follow baseball and wear that gear, because how many baseball games that is? That's a lot of makeup.
162 games.
Once a week or special occasions.
Hey,
Because I'm sure that would get a little monotonous after a while of having to keep putting that on all the time.
Funny you say that though, Jeff. It never gets old. I get the same juice or butterflies or whatever you want to call it every time I've got to go through that process. That keeps it special to me because I know
Yeah.
I got to put that best foot out forward when I step out. So it never gets old, brother. That's why I say it's part of therapy. It to me it's pretty much kept me feeling young and vibrant. It's that fire, that passion. And these corporations, they can't manufacture that. That's got to be genuine. So they see the value, and I tell the fans all the time, know your value.
Yeah.
Yeah, there it is.
I do have a question about your shoulder pads. Those spikes, are they real metal or are they plastic or what are they made of? Like, let's put it this way. Could they really hurt somebody?
Yeah, I'm gonna say no to keep it. I'm gonna say no. You may feel the impact from the shoulder, not the spikes themselves. That's a latex rubber, so it's very pliable.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Because I'm sure you would probably, if those were real metal, I'm sure you'd probably have a hard time getting into stadiums for
you wouldn't
security.
get in any stadium because of liability.
Wow.
Now, when I go to opposing stadiums, they always harass me about it when they know all you can do is touch it. You feel it's pliable, but they like to, have me going through the dog and pony show at every away stadium. So, it comes with it, but
Yeah.
you're not going to deter me.
Um,
So,
Go ahead, Chris.
oh, not another question that's been on my mind for a few days, and we talk about it in the chat a lot. With the new regime in place, with the head coach, the OC, the DC, and everything in place, how do you feel about the direction of the Raiders? Do you think that they're changing, that they're turning that corner to get back to like the old days, like I call it dominance when we were in the Coliseum or Oakland, LA or Oakland, where teams come in there and be actually, I don't want to play Raiders today. No, we got to play Raiders this weekend. I don't want to do it. We think we can turn that corner again? Do you think we're on our way?
Good question, Chris. I think we have not so much turned the corner as people say, but all we did was pivoted. When a ship's on a course, sometimes just to stay on course, you just have to pivot a few degrees. That's what I think we've done. This is the first time in a long time that I've seen the front office work in such a cohesive fashion. It's like they're what they say on the football field, like minds, going for the same goal. You kind of sense that. And, we were at headquarters draft day weekend to greet Genty.
I was
And
going to ask you about that too.
you can feel that energy in the building. And it's like, wow. So I think we've kind of pivoted. I won't say turn the corner. When we turn the corner, we've gotten into the playoffs and deep and threatening. So, but we pivoted from where we were headed because that wasn't the right direction. And you see the sense of urgency because of these players' contracts that we've signed. It's like they're in win now mode or prove it now mode if you want to get extended next year. And so I'm cautiously optimistic, like I always say, but that's me putting it down a little bit because my excitement is right here, bubbling up above my eyes a little bit. But that's the nature of just being a Raider fan. We're always, this year is going to be our year. And we're patient in the fact that we know we've kind of fallen short, but being a Raider fan, there's a bar that you set. There's an expectation for that shield, and we don't lower that regardless of who's there. There's an expectation from us, the fans, that these guys go out there and perform. I'm waiting for them to be dominant again, like I remember.
Yeah,
and that's going to be a great day. I laugh now, guys. I say that Super Bowl parade in Vegas is going to be off the chart.
I will. And I will be there. Definitely.
I want to interrupt for 1 second because they just jumped in the channel. So Raiders Mama 2489 can't stay long at work. Just wanted to salute the nation. Raider is doing great, and I'm back to work again. Finally, a normal life again. Woo, woo.
Good, good,
For
good.
Dude,
people that are in the chat that don't know who this is, he goes by another name. His name is Devin. I don't know, Wayne. Have you seen any of the stuff I put up about this little boy named Raider?
I did see that. Yes,
Okay,
yes.
this
Great
is
stuff.
this is the dad. He's on the mom's account right now. His
Okay.
other screen name that you'll see is Raiders 24 Nation. This is the dad of Little Raider. The video I put out the other day, and then we've been promoting the GoFundMe and everything recently for the family to help them out. Um, he should be home. They should be going back home. I think today or tomorrow. He had his last follow up from the heart surgery last week. I know I talked a little bit about it last night as a highlight, but they will be back home. I will be having them on a show, hopefully within the next week or two, on live with Raider, so that Raider can meet Raider Nation and everybody. They want to thank everybody for doing what they did for them, as far as any donations and the prayers that everybody had given. Oh, they are home. Okay, I see that. The prayers they gave to the family, in support of Little Raider for his surgery last week. So he's a little trooper, that kid. He's like an adopted family member of everybody that's been on, with Chris and I on shows and everything. So I'm glad to see that they're finally home now. It's been a rough few weeks for them. So he's on the good road now. So
That's
I
that's that's what we do in the nation. We're not only a Raider nation, we also a Raider family. We
family.
look after each other. We take care of each other. You need somebody to talk to. You can always talk to us, or you can talk to anybody in the Raider nation. Well, that's just people generally, but we're most close, tight knit fan base, I think, in the world.
you're
And,
welcome,
and to
Devin.
add to that, and Chris,
Yes.
and to add to that, it doesn't, like I said, my thing is that when I meet somebody from far away, that's a special honor because I know they bring a different, what I call a level of appreciation. You kind of get complacent when you're around it all the time. So when I hear these family stories, and that's what keeps me, in reveling about this team and this family. Like you said, we take care of our own, and we circle the wagons like no other fan base that I know of. But there's some out there that do the same thing in the community. But to me, that's big for us because we've been labeled misfits and malcontents, whatever negative attribute that you can put on silver and black. We've been called that, and the whole mission for me is to dispel that notion. Like when I wrote the book, it's like, don't look at what I look like. Listen what's coming out of me. Then you're going to see who I really am. That's what I like, Raider Nation. We share that, and we have so many talented fans in our family, man. And I tell them, don't compete with each other. You do it like a potluck. Bring all of your gifts together. That's
Yeah.
the secret power that Raider Nation has.
Mm-hmm. So,
And I, that kind of, I mean, you actually even pretty much just answered this question without me even asking it, about how important is it for fans like yourself to give back off the field, which I know you're involved in charity work too, from veterans to children and everything. And you kind of just covered that basically, because you're heavily involved with that in your community too still. Do you still go back to, like, do you still have family that lives in Mississippi? Like, how often do you get back that way, if there's still relatives or family that's left there?
There's cousins and nieces and nephews that's back there, but all my siblings, we just scattered. We got some in Seattle, some in Connecticut, and some in
Oh, you're on
Chicago,
my neck of woods.
and I'm out here. So California
Yeah.
was on my destination from like say from high school. So to me, I've been living the dream. But like you say, being a part of the community is very important. You can do this a lot, but it's what you do more so than what you say. And once you get involved with that, man, and just see that the smile that you can put on people's face just by giving of yourself, whether it's time, money, encouragement, prayer, whatever it is, that's very powerful, man. So, like I say, the vets I'm big into because, like I say, they've made the ultimate sacrifice for all of us to enjoy what we do. I'm big into kids with cancer. That's one of my biggest charities, Raider Nation for Life Car Club. If you guys ever want to donate or help out, we're working on a campaign now to take about 5 to 8 kids that never been to a Raider game to their first game. So we're trying to do that for the Jaguars game this coming season. So that's our big campaign for this year. And it's such an honor just to see a kid, regardless of the pain that they go through with their treatments, being at the game, their eyes just light up, man, and that's priceless to me. You know, and the family is like knowing that here's some strangers that care for their child. So it's like I say, it's so rewarding, and I encourage everybody that has a little bit of this to go out and find something because it's out there, man. Just reach out and say, hey, what do you need?
What was the organization again? It's
Raider Nation for Life Car Club.
all right. Because I know there's another one out there too. Raider Dad.
Raider Dad, yes, I know. Yeah, I know the owners of that
That's
too.
another one. There's a few different ones out there for sure.
But it's like say, just it's you're planting seeds, and that's my old country stuff. You're planting seeds, man. That's going to almost guarantee you a great harvest if you cultivate it right. And that's what this is all about to me, man. You don't want some Raider fan on the ship that's wavering, not from the water, from the wind. You don't want him like a blade of grass. You got to be steadfast in that belief in that shield or that honor of the shields, you know. So, you know, I always say we're united under that shield, regardless of where we from, our beliefs and all that stuff. It doesn't matter.
Yep, definitely. I mean, you see it even in the YouTube community. You know, as far away removed as I am, like Chris, him and I have struck up such a great relationship out of this. You know, me being on the East Coast, he's on the West Coast. You wouldn't even know it unless we. Well, I mean, you could probably tell.
Unless you tell him,
but you know, but you really can't tell sometimes because we just work so well together. You know, there's other guys I do shows with where we just get along so well. You would think we've been friends for years, but it's only been like 8-9 months that I've known most of these gentlemen that I do these shows with.
Like mid-January when I met you, so it's been that long.
Yeah. You know, so I mean,
that's chemistry.
That's just the way the community is.
Yes. Like I say, all pulling for the same cause, man. It's so beautiful.
Oh yeah.
And you mentioned the team earlier, so I'm more interested in seeing how that chemistry that they're developing plays out on the football field.
Yeah, exactly.
I've got the questions I want to ask you from the fans that had asked us.
Let's bring them.
So from Jason Downs, he sent me this a couple of days ago. Actually, you kind of answered that question already because I had asked you earlier. He wanted to know how much of a relationship did you have with Al Davis. You pretty much already answered that one, and you answered what it was like.
It was a great, respectable relationship. Just to reiterate, you know, it wasn't like I respected him as a Don, so I never pressed him, you know, because anytime you saw Al, he was coming for business. So I respected that. So I conducted myself the same way. You know, hello, Mr. Davis, salute, you know, a fist in the air. That was his favorite thing. Throw that fist up, that means we're going to war. So that was pretty much it. But it was a mutual respect.
And I guess this question you might have answered this one somewhat. He goes, being part of the face of Raider Nation, has it affected your personal life in a positive manner?
Oh, I like that one. Definitely. I've always been about legacy. And, you know, we heard legacy, but we figured where I grew up that was only rich people that had legacies. But, you know, through my journey, I've kind of said myself, you know, I could leave this legacy for my grandkids and my own kids to kind of follow if they so choose. But they know that regardless of any opposition, I've been steadfast with it, never wavered, man, and just hunkered down. And that belief, you can plant that seed, but that belief has to come from within. So if you're not committed like that, pretty much it's almost like don't put it out there, because somebody's going to test you.
Another question we have here from Chewy Sports and News Podcast. He's a Raider fan just like us. He was on the show with Chris and I last night for a while. So he kind of asked about the culture change, but we kind of answered that one from Oakland to Vegas. But he also wants to know if do you go to all games, home and away?
Right now, I go to all home games. I try to pick one or two away games to attend. I'll say the games in SoFi is always another extended home game for us. We all know the history of that, so you can count on that. Whether it's the Rams or the Chargers, SoFi is another home game for me. So so one or two games I try to attend to, but like I say, I'm retired, so I just kind of focus on staying in my lane right there, because every game for me is a road trip. So
one of the guys in the chat, I pinned his question here. I'm going to put it up right now. He goes, my daughter just asked me a question to ask. She asked the following: Does the Raiders day-to-day consume your life like it does me, even in the off season? That's from Navman, Raider Shield family.
love that. Love that. The answer to that is there is no off season. So
there it is.
That's 24/7, 365, and on leap year 366. So it's just what we do.
Then we got one other question here from Rock. The big criticism on AP was he didn't understand the black hole, aka Raider way, or what that means. Do you agree with that? And what does it mean to you or y'all?
I'm going to try. The way I'm going to answer this one is that AP knew what the Raider way was about, because I found out after he, became coach of us, he had been a Raider fan his whole life. I didn't know that when he was playing with the Giants, and I'm screaming at him when he comes out of the tunnel. So you kind of look at the perspective. He understood the culture, but you can't change that culture. That Raider way, like I say, as long as us old school guys are around, it ain't going anywhere. He understood that, because I've had personal conversations about that. He understood that. It was just that we're in a new area trying to dump a whole lot on them at one time. That's when we first came there, they were like, wow, you guys are taking over. And I enjoyed hearing them say it that way. That's kind of like what we do. We just come and spread that silver and black all over the place.
What they call that? Pillaging. We just go pillage.
Pillaging, that's it. Pillaging, man.
Pillaging just for fun.
Just for fun, yes, sir. And we laugh just like that, yeah.
And I gotta agree with Matt, and I think that was the problem, is AP just didn't have the experience in that leadership of men at that level. He had been a leader of men on the field playing, which is completely different from leading them from a motivational from the sidelines. It's a totally different environment.
And when you would talk to him, you knew that he was a Raider at heart, because you could hear him express that. And maybe that rubbed some people the wrong way, but I admired him for staying who he was. His lack of experience was a downfall, I think. And so as a fan base, we should be almost elated at the 180 turn that we're dealing with right now. We know Pete Carroll has won everywhere he's gone. We know this guy's had so much experience, he's forgotten more than some of these younger coaches have learned. So, like I said, wisdom is like, that's almost like a God's gift. You have to go through stuff to get wisdom, to obtain wisdom. You've got to go on through something. So we really have an advantage. I hope we appreciate it as a fan base. And I think the team is going to respond to that energy that he puts out to them. You hear the players talking right now, and they don't have one pad on yet. So I can't wait to training camp.
No, that's what we waiting on.
So we got some questions in the chat. You guys if you don't want to send super chats, you can just ask the question. I can ask it, but I appreciate it. Thank you very much. So first one is from Jay from Just Raiders, baby. He goes, Wayne, what's your memorable moment in Raiders history?
Oh, wow. There's a few.
Figure that's a tough one.
It's because I've got games that I've watched that were meaningful. But being at a game was that AFC Championship game against the Tennessee Titans. Just how that whole day unfolded, I didn't have tickets. Then I get a phone call that I do have tickets. So I had to get a last-minute flight, get dressed, get a last-minute flight to Oakland before the game kicked off. And then what I went through in security going through John Wayne Airport, which I'd never flown out of there. So it was crazy, man. But to get there and we win that game and go to the Super Bowl, and I got my Gatorade douse from one of the Tennessee Titans players, that was the tip of the iceberg, man, as far as being right there in that championship moment.
So the part of getting to the stadium wasn't memorable in a good way, but being there for the day of the game for the moment was the kick.
Yeah.
John
Airport was a nightmare.
Yeah. But when I walked in there, fellas, it almost like shut down with noise. And I'm just trying to get in line with Southwest to get there. So I'm kind of like got that adrenaline going, but I'm just trying to remain quiet. But security took me up the elevator. That's when all the chaos started.
Yeah.
Imagine.
So they had to get me on the plane and hide me in the back so nobody saw me until everybody got seated.
So we got another super chat question here from Ardell. Thank you, Ardell, and thank you, Jay, for that. That was a good question. Who are Wayne's top 5 favorite Raiders of all time?
That's damn good. Okay, at least I got to name 5. Let me go back. Yeah, not that one favorite. At least I can name 5. So I'm going to go the Snake, Matuzak. Would say Marcus Allen, Jerry Robinson. I'm going to name 6. Howie Long and Bo Jackson.
How many out of that group did you get to actually physically meet in person?
All of them.
All of them.
All of them.
Is there one particular player that got you starstruck? Like you were so just enamored to meet that one particular player?
That's funny you said that because people ask me that. I'm like, I never have gotten starstruck because I kind of grew up with the mantra that they put on their pants one leg at a time, just like I do. So I respect them for their status, but never awestruck. And I think that's what they enjoyed. I always treated them just like, hey, man, I'm just a fan of you. I'm like your biggest fan, but never like starstruck. I used to talk to the late James Garner at every game at the LA Coliseum. We would sit and chop it up, and he being an actor, I'm like, wow, this is an actor. What's wrong with those other actors? They ain't acting like him. But he was like one of those unicorn fans. He wanted to be on the field, and I admired him for that, man. So
he was always on the field.
Yeah,
James Garner was a true fan. He was a big.
Yeah, he was a real dog, man. He was a real dog. So that's what I enjoyed about that. I'm like, there are celebrities. To me, that was a celebrity, but he was like, I'm here for the Raider game. I don't care what I do as, Matt, whatever he played in. I'm here as James Garner, the Raider fan. So we had some great conversations over those years, man.
It was called the Rockford Files.
Rockford Files, yes, sir.
Yeah. Again, majority of the chat would be like, what the hell are they talking about?
Who are they talking about? What is that? It's called a TV show.
But like I say, get to learn that history.
Yeah.
Because he's in that history. He's part of that.
Yes, he is.
He's in a lot of those sideline videos from like those throwbacks from like the 70s and 80s. And oh, yeah. So I
think he was
there's a couple questions here. Have you ever seen Tiger Woods at a Raider game? And is he really a true fan?
He was at a game, but I didn't get to see him. And he is a real Raiders fan.
Is he?
Yes.
I'm going to talk about James Garner again. I'm sorry, you got the question out before. I think when the Raiders won the Super Bowl in LA, I think he was in the parade or on a float. If I'm not correct, I think he was on the float with the Raiders.
I can see that. I
think it was.
Oh, I would believe that. I guarantee he was right there celebrating with them. Like I said, he was on the field at every home game. Every time you saw
Every
anything on
game.
NFL films, he was always there. You
I
know?
think
So Night Owl's asking, do you think that Chip Kelly can produce a real Raider offense?
Hell yes.
that's good. Good answer. Good question. That's a great question.
Yes, it is. But hell yes.
So I do. There's two other questions I really, really wanted to ask you. Number one is, you're the only one that I know personally that has gotten to meet Ashton Genty. And I know when you guys did the draft day, footage and, video and everything, the schedule release, what was your impression of this young gentleman? Like, what's your take on what you see, what we've got to look forward to from him?
Great question, man. Very humble young man, but you see that spirit of a lion behind his eyes. When we met, we shook hands, and I felt his strength right away. And I'm like, man, this is a 22-year-old kid, strong as an ox. And I'm thinking, first thing I thought was a miniature Marshawn. And but he's also has been watching us from afar. So to meet us in person that first day, and his family standing there in the wings watching, that's the biggest welcome that I could ever do, man. Welcome to our family. This is how we operate. So Rilla and I told him, I says, we're nice right now, but when you see us on Sundays, we may be looking a little bit more intense. And all we want you to do is go out there and light them up. So when I said that, there was a big grin on his face. So he knew exactly. Bring the pain, baby.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Chris, I know you and I want to talk, as far as like the current status of the team. Like, what's your overall opinion on where the team's going? But the one question I want to lead into before we get into that is, if you had 5 minutes alone to sit down with Mark Davis and Spytech, what would you say to them about honoring the fans who built this culture? Like what they've done already and what you think they should do going forward.
I love that. Man, that's an awesome one right there, because I still, hopefully that will happen. But it just to kind of like show some type of fan appreciation. Like last year when they, had us on the cover of the programs and the tickets, that was the first. Now, I don't know if that's going to be an annual thing, but do something during the season to just show fan appreciation, because like I say, there's so much commitment and sacrifice that we put out to just show support. So it doesn't take much for them to give that back. And if they would do that, man, it would galvanize even that new Vegas fan community, because that's what we're trying to do, is embrace those guys. Like, listen, we're all in this together. That high tide raises all ships. So we're in this thing together. So that it wouldn't even take 5 minutes to get my point across. But I relish that opportunity. I love that question.
So, Chris, you got anything else before we go any further here? You got anything else you want to ask first?
Covered most bases I want to know. Just, keep moving. I don't know how much time Wayne has, so
how much time do you have,
I'm
Wayne?
with you guys, man. What is it? Y'all got a few minutes.
Awesome.
Oh, okay, good.
So Jay does have one question. He goes, Wayne, how excited are you for this season and the home opener? P.S. I will be at that game. He said, Uncle, we got to link up.
Home opener is like homecoming in high school and college. The home opener is like, it may not be the first game of the season, but it's that first game when all of us come back together. And I hope all of you guys join us on the Fremont. We're going to turn Fremont out. We've got a big show lined up, the Black Hole. So hopefully everybody comes out, man. It's going to be 3 days of fun and fellowship, man, just to get everybody in that mood to go in there and win this Monday night game against the Bolts.
Yeah, unfortunately, I won't be at that game. That's a bit of a travel for me. I'll be at the Patriots game, though. That's a definite. I will be at game 1, week 1 for sure.
You'll be there in soul and spirit, Jeff. So
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Well, I'll be right here with Chris doing a live. We'll do a live show that night for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So I just posted you 2 links again in the chat for moto-sports.com and for your Instagram page.
You got it.
So let's just talk a couple of minutes here on this upcoming season. What's your ultimate feeling on where the direction of this team is going forward for this coming season? Like, are you feeling positive, or because we all know how bad last year was? That was horrible. I don't think any of us could survive another year like that.
Last year was an egg, and that egg's cracked, so you can never uncrack an egg. Looking forward, like I always do, looking forward, we have a very talented team, and it's got a good mixture of veteran and youngsters. So they've got good mentors if that team is structured that way. But just the excitement and the chemistry that you hear in these players in their little, interviews and social media, they're amped up like I haven't seen our Raider team amped up in a few years. I'll just put it in a few years. So, like I said, it's all going to play out on the grass, and that's when we really see how that chemistry and all that excitement works out together. Now, as far as I'm optimistically saying 10-7 is doable with this squad that we have right now. But there are a couple of spots that are still concerning me, which is the O-line where it all starts and ends right there, and defensive backs.
So
That's
I
pretty much
know.
that's pretty much a take that we have that we talk about all the time. We talk about the O line and now the D backs. And then, like I said, I'm with you on that. 10-7, I think, is doable. I think they can do that at least 10-7. But like you said, the D backs, I'm not too concerned about that. But Pete Carroll is a D back coach,
Yes.
so that will help out a little bit. They got some good guys in there. O line, I think that's Jeff's expertise. He's an O line guy, so I go by what he says.
It's my
His
favorite
opinion.
position.
Yeah, I go by his opinion.
I don't
So
be considered to be an expert on anything
yeah, but you know about the O line than anybody else do. Than me, I know. I never
by
played O
default because I'm the fat guy on the panel. So yeah,
line.
But you guys know, look, when I don't care if you like, we've got Genty. Now, if he has no blocking, he can't really show us the heights of his talent and his skill sets. Same thing with the
technically, yeah.
quarterback. We've definitely upgraded in the QB room, but unless Gino has that comfortable feeling, he's not going to perform at his highest. So that's my thing with extending Colton. He's a proven warrior, and he's a long tooth on the line, but he is a captain for a reason. So if you want to go forward, don't go backwards by getting rid of all your leaders. You want all those guys there, even if it's for 1 or 2 years. Leave them there so that these youngsters get a gist of what the system is. Once the old guys set the standard, all you do is fall in line and let's go.
Yep. And that's been one of the big talks that we've had on a lot of our shows lately. Is some people are like, well, let's let Colton Miller walk. I'm like, okay, you let him go. What are you replacing him with? It's not like we've got a left tackle sitting on the roster that we can trust to put in his place. And you know as well as I do, Wayne, you've been around football a long time. You've been around this team for a long time. You know how valuable left tackles are. You don't just throw away a left tackle, especially a guy that's as good as he is. I mean, he's still one of the better ones in the league, regardless. Yeah, he was a little banged up last year, but the whole team was banged up last year. So that last season was an anomaly. Going forward, you got to get him under contract, so you don't trade away a starting left tackle because there's nothing out there to replace him with. Absolutely nothing. We went through the free agents one night, and there was nothing out there.
Nothing that we wanted to sign. Otherwise, they would have
nothing I would trust.
Yeah, nothing that they would trust. I like that one. And we have the luxury of having cap space where you can make moves like that and not strap yourself. So I have the feeling that they're gonna get his deal done. And what's our receiver?
Jacoby Myers.
Jacoby. Same thing. You know, he's been put down. Oh, he ain't a true number one. Pay this guy so he can mentor this new kid that we've got. He's going to be the guy that I'll be our Randy Moss, so to speak. Even though Randy wasn't a favorite player when he was us, the way but we knew he could perform. Right. So they're building for the future, but they're in win right now mode. So, you know, keep those vets there 1 or 2 years and let it fade out as, you know, once you, like I say, they're tied to Coach Carroll. He's got 3 years, so let's do our damnedest to be in the big dance in 3 years. And that's what I'm hoping for.
Have you noticed a shift in the Raiders signing free agents and all that stuff in the past 3 years? When Pete Carroll came in, it seemed like more guys wanted to come play for Pete Carroll. Have you noticed that? Because I noticed, like, when we have a few other coaches, I'm not going to say their names because the chat will go crazy if I say their names, that we couldn't get players in the building unless we paid a lot of money.
Yes.
You want to play Raiders? I don't want to play for you guys. Well, how about we give this much, then we'll play. But now notice that more players are coming over to play under Pete Carroll. Have you noticed that too, Wayne?
Yes, I have, and that's much respect to this man's resume. And you know, players just like us, they keep in touch, and that message goes around. It's all the way around the league. So, plus Vegas being a state-free tax, tax-free state, that's even more attractive. So, and they know that this is kind of like his last run. So, who wouldn't want to be a part of that? So I'm telling Raider Nation, get ready. We're going to get back to that promised land and be respectable again, because we've lived through them being a laughing stock, which really hurts, you know, but we got to bite that bullet and eat it because we haven't shown nothing. I think this whole mindset of this team is going to get back to the old school way of being a little bit edgy.
Dominant. That's what I want to see.
Dominant. It's exactly what Al Davis said after that Super Bowl. What was the exact quote to Gumbel that day? It was, first you have great coaches, then you get great players, and then you tell them just win, baby. And that's exactly what it takes. Because for years we didn't have great coaches, and great players don't want to come here because it's a death sentence coming here. And the same reason why coaches didn't want to come here. Coaches didn't, because it was a place where coaches came to fizzle out and just fall by the wayside. So you finally get good coaching. Players want to play for coaches like that. Players didn't want to play for the guy, not AP, but the guy before him, without saying names like Chris said. You know, never should have been another head coach again. You know? And that's what it takes. You get that new head coach in that players respect. And they're like, ooh, I want to go to that team because I know he can build something. He's done it before. And that's where we're at right now, where players are willing to come here. You know, Matt's got a question for you, Wayne. He goes, it wants to know if you got a chance to meet our new QB. I'm curious, have you also met any of our new additions to the team since?
Other than Genty up close and personal, I saw Gino because we were at the draft party, you know, and they were out on stage. But one-on-one, I haven't gotten to yet. But hopefully that happens between now and the beginning of the season, or we'd be at some function during the season. But it's just, I'll be talking to him just like we're talking right now. Like, I've known this kid forever, and we know what he went through during his career. And the whole thing with being a Raider is you got to have that I was cast off or I've been written off mentality. That's what puts a chip right there. And you can't coach chip.
And that's what Al Davis did. You know, you, Jeff, we all know what he did back in the days. He took the throwaway guys. We don't want our team to win because of your attitude. We don't want a team with this and that. He took those guys, Al Davis did, and made them winners.
And most of them played for our divisional rivals.
It sure did.
Look at the history.
And that's it.
What time do you have to go, Wayne? I don't want to keep you too long.
About 10 more. I got about 10 more.
Okay.
All right. So then let me ask you this then. I know that they have they got once the training camp opens up and everything, and then they usually have that one open practice where they do it in the stadium. Are you planning on going to that? Because I know there's a lot of people that want to go to that. I didn't know if you were going to do it.
Me not being a season ticket holder, I don't know if I would get the invite, but if there's a chance to be there, I would love to be there for that. Just to that'll be like kind of a teaser for the home opener. To see these guys in pads and to get that juice going. So that's a good marketing thing to me because I remember when practices were open all the time. We could go.
Yeah.
A lot of teams used to be like that, and it's not that way anymore.
Not that way. It changed. Yeah.
Yeah.
No. And obviously, I know that you're. Oh, actually, you know what? I know I needed to do this. I got to bring you out. I should have had this out here earlier. I get you and my Gorilla Real bobblehead dolls.
Yeah, man. Hey.
So you said you've been a black hole member for what, 28 years out of the 30?
28 years.
And it's what, out of the LA area? Are you part of a chapter out there, or are you just a black hole member?
No. From when they moved back to Oakland, because when they first moved back, I kind of hung out, but I wasn't really a member. So Rob Rivera gave me my official welcome into it. So, like I say, it's been about 28 years of the 30.
Oh, it's these are awesome. I absolutely love these. By the way, I think they're awesome. It's the best. My wife got it for me earlier this year for my birthday. So she goes, "Do you want this one?" I'm like, "Hell yeah, I do." So, did I have any sneak questions that I was thinking about?
You covered pretty much everything.
There's more questions. They'll just come up at different times. There's
As
more questions.
As soon as we got the show, I should add some next question. It never fails.
No, I've got one right here.
Oh,
I gotta put my glasses on for this one. How do you hope Raider Nation remembers you, not just as the Violator, but also as Wayne Mabry?
Wow, like that one. Dang. Just knowing that I was totally committed, that commitment to excellence. Like I say, ultimate ambassador. Never considered myself a super fan, so to speak. I'm just an ambassador, but I carry a sharp sword, in other words. So when I'm swinging to do damage in a positive way. When I say damage, influencing others to like join the horde, so to speak.
Okay, I got some questions for you. Here we go. We already know your favorite players. You gave us 6. You probably can list by 20 more. Okay. What was your favorite win about Raiders all time? Your favorite win?
Wow. I'm gonna say I could say the Super Bowl against the Redskins, but that's not it. It was the sea of hands game that put us into the Super Bowl against when we beat the Dolphins. That sea of hands game, because that was like could have went either way.
Okay.
But that like I said, that Super Bowl against the Skins, we were major underdogs. We kind of slid in there with a 9-7 record. The whole media was like, "Oh no, this the Hogs and Theismann." So I'm just sitting there like, okay, so everybody knows how that played out. They set the tone, and that's what I'm hoping to see before I close my eyes for the last time, is to see that team just come out, setting the tone from day one and just dominate, man. So that's what I remember. I always keep those memories. That to me, that's what the Raiders play like.
And just in case anybody in the chat was young, didn't know, the Raiders played multiple Super Bowls. They won 3. In all 3 Super Bowls, they were underdogs. In all 3 of them. Everyone was underdogs.
Yeah.
What was the worst loss you seen? Like it just nailed I almost put a nail in the coffin. Like,
Where do you start on that one?
The worst one was I call it the Bullwinkle game when we lost against KC in LA, the last game at the Coliseum before they moved. Marcus Allen came back and showed his ass.
He showed Al Davis up. Yeah.
Showed out.
I was pissed that game. Yeah, that was bad.
Showed out.
All Eyes has it.
That one I shedded a tear, and also the last game against the Jaguars in Oakland, I shedded a tear because they gave that game away.
That
Ardell,
was pretty bad. Your last home game. That was a tough one to watch.
That was tough.
Ardell. It was Ardell mentioned that the Bills spanked AFC Championship 45-3. No, it was 51-3.
51
Yeah,
to
that was
3.
a bad game.
51 to
That
3.
was All Eyes has a question for you. He goes, "What's Violator's most prized Raiders
Raiders?
memorabilia?"
Wow. Raiders memorabilia. I've got stuff all over my house, but
I figured.
I don't even have a favorite one. I love them all the same because they're connected to that shield. But I never pick out one as my favorite. But I'd have to say, well, the Hall of Fame plaque is not pretty much Raiders memorabilia, but that would be my favorite because that would never happen again.
That would have to rank right up there for me too if I were you. Yeah, definitely, I could see that because you know what is, you will live on forever, just like all the players that go into that Hall of Fame, you will live on forever in that building. Anybody that goes there and visits, they're gonna see you. They're gonna see you as the Violator. They're gonna see Wayne Mabry in there for eternity, basically. And look at all the cool people you get to talk to, like John Madden said. Because I believe that 100% what he said when he got inducted. That I think all the do turn and talk to themselves. I honestly agree. I think that really happens. It's like they all come to life.
And like I said, that's a spiritual thing. So you have to kind of let your imagination go there.
Oh yeah.
But that's a room full of football history. So why wouldn't they talk?
And that's just it. And you're part of that history now. You're part of that Raider history. Whether you might think so or not, I mean, you've had such an impact on Raider Nation fan base, for generations, basically. You've touched generations as the Violator, as far as the impact that you've had on how people look at the team and how you get people fired up for for games. And just like when I see that, like the image, it's right above your head right now on the screen in front of me, that just screams it's game day. It's time, it's on, let's do it.
We got 3 hours. Let's put it in, man.
Yep.
But like I say, to me, it's just a fan living his dream. And that's what I tell the kids. Never let somebody tell you what you can't do.
Yeah.
Let them define who you are. Me being a brother, putting on paint, I got so much ridicule, but now I'm like, what do they think now? Because that actually fueled me to continue. It made me dig in. And so I've got something I took from the late coach Denny Green: desire, dedication, and determination.
Yeah.
That will take you through if you really embrace all those 3 Ds.
And that's how I felt when I first saw it at the Coliseum. Because I was one of those guys that walked around the whole thing just to walk around, all that stuff. And I saw like, wow, it takes a brave man to do that. And that's what I thought about you. And I said, yeah, he's a brave man to do that because, people want to do that, but like you said, they don't. Just kind of like scared to do something like that.
They're worried about other people's thoughts of them.
Yeah.
How you're going to be perceived? Like
that's the secret. You got to not give a damn what people think. Mm-hmm. Like I say, I've got a saying I brought from the South. I can show you better than I can tell you.
Yeah.
Sweet. So that's what that's been about. Every Sunday doing that ritual. And like I say, every day is just like the first day. So that grows with you, man. But that keeps my spirit like I was at, a kid when I saw that shield. That's the way it is with me.
Well, God knows that it's been 40-something years since we've seen a Super Bowl win, the 3 of us up here. I know I can't wait another 40-something years because I'll be in my 90s, and I don't expect to make it to 90s.
Hey, I'll be like 100.
I know Chris is going to be up there, and Wayne, I know you're a few years older than myself, so I know
40 years I'll be 100 and something, but
I'll be
that's what I mean. I can't wait another 40 years. So here's to hoping
I
that
think
it's sooner
I
than
think
later.
It's
it's coming
coming, guys. It's
faster.
coming.
I
It's
think so.
coming.
Yeah.
I think
It's
so.
coming.
So
You know, we talk about keep the faith. That was one of Al's things. Keep the faith.
Oh yeah.
You've got to keep that faith that it's coming. You know, not
Yeah.
listen to one person says something negative and you shrink like a flower in the heat. You know, oh, they said something bad. That's supposed to make you sprout and like, yeah, bring it, bring it.
Exactly.
All you're doing is making me believe just that much more. When you've got that collectively amongst all of us around the world, that's a movement right there.
So before we close out here, Wayne, do you have anything that you want to say at the end? Anything you want to, you know, push, or anything else that you want to bring up that you want to promote,
Well, you
or any
guys,
events you have coming up?
well, I want to first thank you guys for inviting me on for this. I
Thank
call
you.
it for this session because we're all in therapy right now. So I appreciate being a part of this therapy session. But all I got to say, and I'm going to clock out, Raiders.
There it is. Yeah, there it is.
All right. Well, everybody, I hope everybody's enjoyed the show this evening. Chris, you got anything you want to add before we cut out here?
It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure talking to you, Wayne. I mean, like I said, I've seen you before and always wanted to meet you. And the LA crowd, like I said, was nuts. But yeah, it's been a pleasure talking to you. And I will be hitting you up for those cigars. I love cigars.
Appreciate it, brother. Appreciate it.
Yeah, me too. I haven't had
Appreciate it.
cigars in a while. All right, just one more question. Rorschach asked. I didn't see it earlier. I'm sorry, Rorschach, but I will ask it. He says, Violator, do you enjoy doing interviews for Raider content creators and your legendary status? You will and shall always be a unk of Raider Nation.
Appreciate that, Rashad. Yes, I do, because it's an opportunity to really express that passion that we all carry and just to chop it up. I call it chopping it up. It's just to share knowledge, feelings, hardships, good times. That's what puts us to that next level that we're trying to get to. And that lets people understand what drives me. And all I'm trying to do is share that excitement, man, like an infectious disease.
That's what it's all about.
Awesome answer. Thank you.
Yeah.
Chris, you got anything else you want to ask or
No.
add before we call it a night here?
Probably when we ended up, I'll think of a question.
Yeah. Oh, no, it's always the way. You got a show tomorrow with Jason?
I'm sorry.
You got a show tomorrow?
Yeah. Yeah, tomorrow we have a show with Red Nation Jason at 10 o'clock p.m. Pacific time, 1 o'clock Eastern. I don't know what the topic's going to be. Probably a recap of this show. So, other than that, that's about it. So, coming up.
I'm trying to catch you guys.
Okay, I appreciate that.
The shows I'm on during the week, we are taking the week off because of 4th of July week. So, there will be no Raider Connection Wednesday night. There will be no Raiders Coast to Coast with Nate and myself on Thursday night. But Chris and I will. You want to be here next Friday night, Chris? 4th of July night. What do you got going on?
If I can hear anything, you got to be shooting fireworks over the place.
We'll talk. We'll figure something out.
Well, I don't mind. I don't care.
Wayne, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on with us.
Thank you, guys.
And to hash it up. This has been absolutely, and probably one of the best nights I've had doing this, to be honest with you. And that I get to share this with Chris. I'm happy that Chris and I get to do this.
Let's do this during the season sometime.
Oh, definitely. I can definitely see us doing that. Because our format for this show during the off season or during the non-football time is to talk Raider history and then just do general pull-up shows. But during the season, when the games are going on, we want to preview the upcoming game and then the same night also talk about the game from the week before. So we'd love to have you on one of those nights when we do that on a Saturday night where we're chopping it up about our takes on the game. And I know you've got takes because I've seen you with Captain and Coach Guru on the on that show. So make sure everybody checks that out comes the season too.
I got a question, Jeff. What time Saturdays? Because Saturdays, if it's an away game, maybe, but during the home games, I'm working on Saturdays, so I'm busy all day on Saturdays, man.
On Saturdays we start at 6 o'clock your time out west. It's 9 o'clock my time on Saturdays.
So probably probably away games, probably more likely.
Yes.
Yeah. I know at home games you probably
I'm working from Friday through Sunday, man. I'm like I said, having to do appearances for sponsors for the Black Hole. But like I said, it's a labor of love. So I'm soaking up every one of those moments, man, because that tells a story, man. Like I say, at the end of the day, when they cross them up for the last time.
Yeah, and actually, Jay's got a point too. On Wednesday nights, also, we've got the Raider Connection during the middle of the week, and we start at 10 o'clock my time, 7 o'clock your time, and there's four of us on that
make
show.
Something like that. Hit me up.
We could do that too. So even for a home game, that might be easier during the week for you too.
Yeah, during the week, yeah.
So we could do that for a home game. And then when it's an away game, Chris and I can have you on a Saturday. But yeah, we'll work it out once the season comes for sure.
Hey, just keep in touch, man. You know I'm right here.
Definitely we will. Again, thank you for being on here. Thank you for the questions and the honesty and the answers. I mean, this has been an experience for me. Chris, I don't know if you've got anything you want to say.
This has been awesome. This has been awesome.
Yeah.
A good time to talk to you and get your thoughts. I think we both think the same way about the Raiders. We all feel the same about the Raiders, and it's good to get it off your chest. Yeah. And that's what felt good about this show.
3 OGs sitting up here.
Yeah, and like I say, keeping it positive, even though we're like leaning on each other's shoulders if we need a hug. We're here for that, man. But at the end of the day, we're gonna leave you with something positive.
Exactly.
All right, everybody. Hope everybody has a wonderful evening tonight. I know this is a little bit normal from what Chris and I do on Saturday nights, because normally we stay on for hours after this, but I definitely don't want to stay on super late tonight. We had a late night last night. So
yeah, I'm fine with that.
Anything else before we cut out? We're both good?
No, that's it.
Well, as we always say, stay safe and go Raiders.
Go Raiders.
Go Raiders. Yeah.